Hello, everybody. David Shuster here. The Trump administration's authoritarianism keeps growing, and now we're seeing it play out at the Pentagon. President Trump and DoD Secretary Pete Hegseth have imposed new unprecedented restrictions on what journalists covering the U.S. military can report. But every major news organization, thankfully, including conservative channels Fox News and Newsmax, are saying, we will not comply.
The vast majority of the country's major news organizations are banding together and refusing to sign a Defense Department document about new press rules. That includes CBS News. CBS News and other broadcast networks released a joint statement a short time ago saying, quote here, "Today we joined virtually every other news organization in declining to agree to the Pentagon's new requirements, which would restrict journalists' ability to keep the nation and the world informed of important national security issues."
And to underscore the resolve of every major news organization, at 4 p.m. this past Wednesday, the deadline the Trump administration set for journalists to sign a rules pledge, the news organizations literally left the building. As this video from Fox News and the New York Post shows, journalists and news technicians boxed up all of their equipment, files, and even office furniture, loaded everything into vans, and drove away. More than 40 journalists, some of whom have covered the Pentagon for decades, turned in their press credentials, walked down the stairs outside the Pentagon, and left.
It is unprecedented. Yeah. Also, every major, I feel like, news story of the last 100 years came from defense reporters reporting on wars, covert operations. Like, this is kind of the heart of what we do.
Let's build off of that point, which is there's more money spent in that building around our defense than all of our government combined, I believe. Don't hold me to that number, but a ton of stuff. So the press is there literally, whether it's the right or the left or the middle, I don't care, but this is where most of our money is. This is the defense of our country. This is where reporting may be the most important because there's just so many resources. That means you have folks talking about, I remember the golden toilet seats over at the Pentagon, or some spy thing, or some bomb thing, like all the things that are titillating to newspapers, but also news that we need. This is the last place we should be coddling that down.
The restrictions the Trump administration wants Pentagon beat reporters to commit to includes not seeking any unauthorized information, even if that information is not classified. There are also restrictions on media reporters, prohibiting them from walking outside of the media corridor. And there are requirements that reporters get approval in advance on stories before they are published or broadcast. For the record, 25 years ago, I was a beat reporter at the Pentagon. Part of how we broke stories and how we reported stories was by going to various offices, developing sources and contacts, establishing relationships, and proving that our organization, our news organization, was interested in accuracy and facts. There were parts of the building that were classified and off limits to us. In other words, there were areas where our brightly colored press credentials would not open doors. The arrangement worked, and the taxpayers, the U.S. taxpayers who pay for the largest military in the world, were well served by the Pentagon press corps. Now, the Trump administration is trying to snuff out the last embers of a free press. And remember, a free press exists not to flatter government power, not to administer government talking points, but to expose error and ambition, to probe behind the veils of secrecy, to remind rulers and military leaders that they govern at the sufferance of the governed. They govern on behalf of us, we the people. But Donald Trump and DoD Secretary Pete Hegseth see the press not as a guardian of liberty or freedom, but as an annoyance and as an institution that gets in the way of their unbridled power.
When it comes to war, and now our great Department of War, we have some great people over there, I think it bothers me to have soldiers and even, high-ranking generals walking around with you guys on their sleeve, asking them, because they can make a mistake, and a mistake can be tragic. They can do it innocently, too. They can, and they're not press people. They don't really deal with the press, so they're not really necessarily good at it, although I think it's mostly instinctual one way or the other. You're either good at things or you're not. But I could see you being bothered by that. I mean, so you have them in an area, and you treat them fairly, but they're not allowed to go into
much like the
somebody's office and sit with them for 10 hours. Right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I can understand.
Again, Pentagon reporters have never been able to stay on a general's sleeve or sit in a military leader's office for 10 hours. But reality and facts are beyond the capability of the Trump administration. And by the way, Pete Hegseth, with the bombast of a third-rate tyrant, keeps declaring that the press does not run the Pentagon, the people do, and that reporters must follow his rules or go home. Well, thankfully, every reporter except for one for the Trump sycophant channel One America News has gone home and will cover the Pentagon now from afar. The Trump administration technique is the move of despots. It is how despots begin, by muting cameras, restricting access, offending with intimidation. And all of this is a prelude to an even grander inversion, the transformation of the entire press into a Trump mouthpiece, and the muting of any voice that wanders from the Trump line. If this is allowed to pass, if it is celebrated by the MAGA echo chambers and rationalized by the naive as, well, that's just security, then the old maxim holds. First, they come for the journalists. Then, they come for everything and everybody else. No news organization is safe. No institution is immune. In other words, just another weekday in the United States under Trump. History will not look kindly on this pantomime of autocracy. Future school children, assuming they are permitted to learn history at all under this Trump regime, will study the Trump-Hegseth years and ask how a nation supposedly built on liberty allowed itself to be governed by men so small, so vain, so pathologically afraid of questions and afraid of the truth. Remarkable. By the way, Vice President J.D. Vance is now getting shredded for defending young Republican leaders who have been talking like old Nazis.
Thousands of messages shared in a group chat of young Republicans is revealing some racist thoughts that they even worried about being leaked. Well, those exchanges have been leaked, obtained by Politico, and are part of a Telegram chat among young Republican leaders in the following states: New York, Kansas, Arizona, and Vermont.
As Politico reports, I Love Hitler leaked messages expose young Republicans' racist chat. Thousands of private messages reveal young GOP leaders joking about gas chambers, slavery, and rape.
Politico obtained over 7 months of thousands and thousands of messages in a Telegram group chat between, like you said, leaders in the young Republican state organizations in Arizona, New York, Kansas, and Vermont. Now, it's kind of a misnomer, young Republicans, because it's called the Young Republicans, but these are, full-grown adults, 18 to 40 years old.
Check out that video at the link below. I'm David Shuster. Thanks for joining us. Hello, everybody. David Shuster here. Thanks for watching. If you found this reporting and commentary valuable, do us a favor and tap the like button. For more content like this, hit the subscribe button and ring the bell. That way, you'll be notified on your YouTube homepage when we drop a new video. If you are tired of corporate spin and want honest, people-focused news, click the join button below and be part of the fight for a better future. We wouldn't be here without your support. Stay informed, stay engaged, and thanks again for joining us.